UFC Fight Night Rozenstruik versus Gaziev is this weekend. Is it the best card? Not necessarily. But you know what's exciting? Well, I'm back from Dubai, so thanks. Dino Bam Bam held it down. In the meantime, speaking of Dino Bam Bam, this episode is actually our 100th episode of the show. It's the 100th video that we filmed. So just wanted to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being with us. May not be a big deal to you or to whoever's watching this, but it is a big deal to us. And whether you've been here from the beginning or you just subscribed to us, thanks so much for tuning in. We got your fight breakdown coming up, but thanks again. Hello, brothers. Welcome, Habibi. I'm back from Dubai. What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the 10-7 MMA. I'm still your boy DS, and man, I've missed doing this with you, bro. And by you, I mean my guy Dino Bam Bam.
Yeah, I mean, last week, Dino, I had to do it by myself. New experiences, man. But we're getting good at this YouTube game, bro. We're getting good.
You know what? You did a great job, bro.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that.
I jerked off to that in Dubai, actually.
That's nice. That's good to know.
Yeah, it was nice,
I had that influence over people. I was hoping somebody.
If you notice anything different about me, by the way, I did get a little bit of a tan. But I feel blasphemous and saying things like that with the headscarf on. Yeah, it's good to be back, man.
Let's get it, bro. I'm excited. Last week, pretty decent UFC card. We watched that one together. Had a couple adult beverages.
I would say more than a couple.
Yeah. We got home at
still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. I got home at 4:30 a.m.
Yeah, it was. First of all, hold on. I forgot. I need to wear a hat for these things.
Yeah, you do. While he's getting his hat, guys, I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to say, why don't you guys do us a favor? Hit that little like button. Hit the little subscribe button. Dino, can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother.
There it is, guys. That's the sound of the bell. Ring that bell. That's going to notify you when our videos drop. You're going to want to be notified because next week, not so much for this week, but next week, UFC 299, banger of a card. We'll get to that once we get there. Dino, anything else before we start this absolutely fucking phenomenal fight night card? Probably one of the best on paper I've ever seen in my entire life.
And he's being facetious if you can't tell. By the way, it's wild how much glare there was off my dome. I'm glad. That's the reason we wear hats. We know we're bald as fuck. We're not self-conscious. I just had a straight blue fucking glare on my dome, wondering what the fuck it was. Nothing else to say, man. There are like two good fights on this card. Why is Shamil Gaziev on the main event? Why is Bekzat fucking Kit Kat Almakhan? Why is he fighting Umar? Does nobody want to fight Umar? We'll get to it, but it's just this is like the Dagestani privilege card, it seems.
Well, yeah, this was supposed to be the card that was supposed to take place in Saudi Arabia, so it of course has a theme to it. You know how we feel about themed cards. Last week was a themed card, but to me, Dino, at least there was some star power. Not to say that there isn't some interesting dudes. You want to see Mokaev anytime he fights. You always want to see Umar when he fights. But anyways, let's get into this card, dude.
Let's get into it, man. At least it's a short one. There's only 11 fights on the docket. First one of the night, Loik Radzhabov taking on Al-Selwady. What is it? Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady. What do you think about this one, brother?
Great. Hey, you did a great job pronouncing that. I feel like the practice in Dubai probably helped out with that.
For sure.
And also, I don't want to correct you, but it's not the first card. It's not the first fight of the night. It's the first card of the day because this shit starts really early. But anyways,
respect. Well, I don't want to correct you, but you spelled Kareem wrong. It's supposed to be two E's, not an I. So,
well, on my notes, it's Abdul-Kareem. So, we're going to figure it out. We're just going to go. We're going to go.
Where in the world is Abdul-Kareem? Smart.
Anyways, Loik Radzhabov. He's a wrestler, Dino. Good, relentless takedowns. Decent throws from the clinch. His striking is not technical at all, but he does throw hard as hell. I think we're starting to get an understanding of who Loik Radzhabov is in the UFC, right? He beat Esteban Ribovics. He ended up losing later on to the monster that is Mateusz Rebecki, who's an absolute my boy at this point. He's taking on the newcomer, Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady, or Abdul-Kareem, if you're so inclined. But he's a striker, constant pressure. He stands kind of hunched over. He keeps his hands up, but he is pretty damn crackable. He's really, really athletic, Dino. The ground game solid, good takedowns. He's, of course, coming to us from the Contender Series where he defeated the British fighter George Hardwick. He's a finisher, even though we didn't get to see that on Dancing with the Stars. 10 of his 15 career wins are by finish. Al-Selwady, a high-level prospect. A lot of people are picking him here. He is the favorite at minus 165. But me, I'm going the opposite way here. To me, it's contingent on the scales, though, right? Because we've seen Loic Radzhabov miss weight a couple times. And if he looks healthy going into this fight, I'm absolutely going with Loic Radzhabov. I just have not seen enough of Al-Selwady defending takedowns. And I know that Loic Radzhabov can get those. So it's yet to be proven if he could stop him. I'm going Radzhabov, the underdog, by decision here.
Yeah, this is news to me that he's the underdog. I don't think it was the case earlier in the week, was it?
Man, I couldn't tell you, brother.
Yeah, true. But yeah, man, I mean, listen, Al-Selwady looks good, man. He looks really good, looks really athletic. Doesn't look to have a ton of weaknesses, honestly. So I had a tough time with this. I'm pretty sure Radzhabov was the underdog, but I mean the favorite, I'm sorry. But now that he's the underdog, I'm definitely picking him. Listen, Al-Selwady took on George Hardwick. George Hardwick is a pretty good fighter, man. George Hardwick, did he get a contract?
No, I don't think so.
I kind of feel like it was one of those where he kind of almost should have. Like, there were moments where he was getting his licks in. I expect a tough fight here either way, man. For me, you know, it's just hard to pick against Loic when he's been here, done this. They're not terribly different. You know what I mean? Yeah. I expect Loic to have I think he's going to have the power advantage and definitely the offensive wrestling advantage. It's a close fight, man. You know, I'm kind of surprised. Was it minus 165?
Yep.
Excuse me. That's kind of crazy to me, honestly. But listen, I understand picking Al-Selwady. He has unreal cardio. I think no matter how this goes, it's going to decision. I don't really see a finish either way. We've seen Loic be kind of hit and miss. Like, he wins most of the time, right? But it's like there were times when I expected him to be a little bit better than he ended up being. I like Al-Selwady. I think he's here to stay, but I'm with you, man. I think I'm going to take Loic by decision as well. Not terribly confident in it, but that's the way I'm going.
Yeah, so for what it's worth, we agree on the first fight of the night. It's starting to become a little bit of a trend now. I like that. I like it.
It has. I've been on fucking fire. I know you've been doing pretty good too.
Yeah.
But we didn't talk about it much because I wasn't here. Swept the fuck out of the card, the Volt card.
Yeah.
Do with that info what you will. That Parleezy hit. If you haven't yet, check out our weekly parlay video. It drops every single week on Wednesdays most of the time, sometimes Thursdays. Give us a break, right? We got day jobs.
We're trying to do some things.
Exactly. We're trying to do some things. Anyway, moving on to the next fight of the night. We've got Vinicius. I was going to say Salvador, but it's not. It's Oliveira. He's taking on Giannis Gamuri. Listen, I don't
fight's been changed, brother. Last minute change. Bernardo Sopaj.
Who the fuck is that, bro?
He's some Swedish dude, bro. He's an Albanian Swedish guy. Hey, I'll break it down to you guys like this. On the little bit of tape I was able to watch on this guy, he's a former soccer player. He's a finisher. He trains out of All-Stars in Sweden. 10 of his 11 pro wins have been by finish. Most have come very early as well. I was only able to watch 2 fights of this dude. I saw one at Brave.
When was this announced?
I have no idea, but there's 2 like last-minute changes on this card. Threw a very nice flying knee against the cage in that one. He's got creative striking. He's really aggressive. He's giving me like a little bit of an Esteban Ribovic type of vibe in watching his film. People do not like getting hit by this guy. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Listen, I don't have a lot to say. I didn't like either Vinicius Oliveira nor Giannis Gamuri.
Yeah.
Bernardo Sopai, I can't speak on him, unfortunately. So you got me with my fucking pants down right now, but yeah, I mean, you can break this one down and let me know what you think. Vinicius Oliveira, I don't think he's UFC level. I don't think Giannis Gamuri is UFC level, to be honest with you. So this was a fight that I was very much not looking forward to. Do you, in your opinion, does this make the fight more interesting? Does this make the fight more watchable? Is this a better fight for the fans?
Compared to Gamuri, I mean, Sopai is a lot more offensive, right? Gamuri very like a defensive, slow starter, kind of just takes his time. This guy Sopai, man, he does
all kinds of this shit. Gamuri.
Yeah, like, exactly.
I hate that shit.
I'm telling you, Dino, the vibe I was getting from this Sopai guy is sort of like Esteban Ribovic. So think that's like a little bit of a comparison that I was able to make. He seems good. He seems good, but he's young, man. I think it's a little too much too soon. I like Vinicius Alvarez's power. I don't necessarily love him as a fighter. He's very sloppy and reckless, but he is super damn dangerous. So I'm going to go with the guy that I've seen do more against, I've seen him more and I've seen him against higher comp. So that's really all I'm going off here. I think it's going to be a firefight for what it's worth. I'm going first round knockout either way, but I'll take Oliveira.
That's all I wanted to say. And no disrespect to the fans of the channel. This is literally the first time this has ever happened to me. So cut me some slack. Yeah. But this is a god-awful card. It is what it is. I had a first-round KO either way last time out because the guys are, when you have people who aren't that good, right, skill-wise, and are hittable, very high probability of a KO. So it makes sense that would happen here regardless. Yeah. So, in any case, we'll just move on. Third fight of the night, CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan. He's taking on Claudio Ribeiro. This is actually one of the few fun fights on the card, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. You want me to go break down here or you?
You go for it.
All right, for sure. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab myself, put me here so I can, boom, hit one of those. Anyways, guys, CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan. He's a striker, of course. He's hella powerful, good pressure. He is a finisher himself. He throws really unique shit. He is sometimes hittable as hell. He is dangerous. He's not the guy that we thought he was. I think that's what we're starting to realize after seeing him in the UFC a little bit here. He's taking on Claudio Ribeiro. For what it's worth, another pretty similar guy, a guy that came into the UFC, and I was very excited to see what he would do with the power that he has. He, of course, is super damn flashy and unpredictable. Former pro boxer, but he kind of gives you like that Michel Pereira type of vibe, right? To me, look, it's two reckless strikers here, two guys with serious power. Both of them kind of walk with their chin up. Both could get sparked out. So what do I have to go on here? I have to go with like the more technical guy. And for me, that's Christian Leroy Duncan here. I'm going round 2 KO. The odds on this suck at -300 because I really do think it's a pick'em. Or if it's not a pick'em, it's like 55% to Christian Leroy Duncan. I'm picking him by knockout.
Yeah. And I agree with you, man. I'm also going to go with CLD. Listen, you're absolutely right. He's not – I wasn't like – I feel like you were maybe higher on him than I was. Yeah. And there were other YouTube analysts that were higher on him than I was. I was never super high on him after watching his tape. Claudio Ribeiro, man, he's really good. In my opinion, he's gonna have the power advantage. The issue is, like you said, the technical skill. I think there's a pretty big gap there. That being said, Claudio Ribeiro is absolutely live for a knockout. He almost knocked out Roman Kopylov last time out. He had him rocked badly, just couldn't get the finish for whatever reason. But man, that's like the one way that he has to win this fight is to get a knockout, and he is very live for it. But it's just the skill discrepancy. I don't see this going to the ground. Christian Leroy Duncan's such a sniper. When he's on, he's on. Yes, both these guys kind of leave their chins up. Christian Leroy Duncan may have the slightly worse chin. We have seen Ribeiro rocked already too. But, there's always a puncher's chance, especially somebody who's got such good power. I just have to go with the more technical striker too. I'm going to go by decision. I'm going to go CLD by decision. A knockout either way is very live, though, for sure.
Interesting, because Dino, for me, I think one of the safest bets on this card is this doesn't go the distance. So really interesting you say decision. Yeah, I don't think it does, but we'll see how it plays out.
Listen, I absolutely agree with you. I'm going with my gut right now. Yeah. For whatever reason. So I guess it's just because Christian. I could see it, man. I could see it. It's absolutely. I could see it going either way. I was going back and forth, but. Yeah, I just think Christian Leroy Duncan he has decent power, not a ton of power, and I could see Ribeiro trying to make the fight a little bit dirty or a little bit, ugly, right? And just kind of it just lasts. So, in any case, moving on to the next fight, and here's the epitome of, in my opinion, not somebody who's the funnest fighter, but really good, Javid Basharat. He's taking on Aiemann Zahabi. Listen, these are two very, very skilled fighters. Javid Basharat. I'm not a huge fan of the Basharat brothers personally. They're very, very good, so I'm not saying that they're not. I think we're getting close to the point where Javid Basharat's going to get chinned, though. I think we're getting very close to that point. Don't get me wrong. He's got great striking. He throws some fun kicks here and there. But for the most part, he wants to get you down. He wants to lay on you, right? Aiemann Zahabi, in my opinion, definitely has the power advantage. But we're looking at a fighter on the up and up, right, on the come up, like Javid Basharat. 8 years older fighter on the other side, and Aiemann Zahabi. I mean, aside from the power advantage, I just don't see where he really has the advantage. Now, I will say, Javid Basharat does hold his hands very low, so there's definitely a possibility of a knockout. It's just like he's just so technically sound. He has really no weaknesses. He doesn't have a ton of power, in my opinion, especially in the hands. But aside from the power difference, man, that's really where the advantages end for Aiemann Zahabi for me. Should it be minus 700? I really don't think so. I understand, he's a Basharat. These guys are so dedicated to the fight game. There's a lot to be said about that as well. But I'm going to go with Javid Basharat, man. I'm going to go Javid Basharat, and I'm going to go by second round submission.
Yeah, I get it, man. A matchup, Dino, of two brothers here. My bad, guys. I am all over the place. A matchup of two like MMA brothers, right? Faraz Zahabi, of course, the brother of Aiemann Zahabi, super high level coach GSP. And then you got the Basharat bros. Dino, when it comes to Javid Basharat, I do think he's the better of the two Basharat bros for what that's worth. But both of them seem to be pretty high level, man. And it's not impressive. Like, what they do isn't impressive. It's not really entertaining, but they know how to win fights, right? Like, they're well-rounded.
Absolutely.
Good striking, good grappling. They're able to wet blanket. And I think against an older, aging Aiemann Zahabi here, that's the recipe. You just wrestle fudge the guy. And I think that's what Basharat's going to end up doing here. He's been training a ton. Every time we talk about the Basharat brothers, you got to talk about social media, right? You see these guys training with like some of the best guys in the world all the time. They're really living that life right now, man. And I don't know how much Aiemann Zahabi really is. Basharat by decision is my pick here. I think he's going to use the wrestling to just hold Zahabi down. There is a chance at that sub coming when Zahabi knows, like, you know what? I got to get a finish to win this fight. Maybe he leaves something out there and this guy snatches it up. So a sub is very live, but I'll go decision. Minus 700. This is the lock of the card.
No. Man, I feel like there are some bigger favorites on the card personally, but I'm with you. It's one of those where it's one of the massive ones for sure. So anyway, moving on.
I think this is the second changed fight, Dino, unless you got this one.
I did get this one.
Okay.
Not that I want to spend a lot of time on it, but we've got Ludovit Klein. He was supposed to be taking on Yoel Alvarez, who I really, really like.
Yeah, you're a big boy.
Big fan. Why does it say Joel? Isn't it? No, you're right. It is Joel. He's 6'3". I really like him. I like. There's a guy I wish he was more active. So again, he fucking pulls out. How unfortunate. And that would have been a really, really fun fight. That had fight of the night potential written all over it, in my opinion.
Yeah, legit.
But now Ludovit Klein is taking on AJ Cunningham. Why? Only the Lord knows. He lost on the Contender Series to Steve Nguyen. So anyway, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, let's start with Ludovit Klein. I mean, he's a striker, right? He's a guy we've seen stand and go the distance with Ignacio Bahamondes, who, as we know, pretty damn tough guy, a tricky striker. Look, Dino, he's really clean out of the southpaw stance. He's tricky. He's got good feints. I like his stand-up game a lot. He stays really calm in the pocket. He's down to exchange, but he's not like super hittable. He doesn't really want to get it to the ground, but he does have like good takedown defense. And if he ends up on top, he's very damn heavy on top. We used to see a bunch of subs out of him pre-UFC. We don't see any of that anymore, but it's there in the back pocket. What is that?
Yeah, we never see that now.
Yeah, you never see that. And he's taking on short notice, AJ Cunningham. I don't know how short notice, but pretty damn short notice. Lost on the Contender Series, right? He didn't look very good in that one. And another one where I'm not going to lie to you guys, I didn't see too much film on this guy with it being super short notice. I did see the Contender Series fight. I did watch one other fight where he beat a guy named Jonathan Jackson. He wasn't too impressive in that one either. He was getting his leg chewed up early. He seems to have a decent clinch game, good takedowns. Honestly, though, like on super duper quick notice, I have to go with Ludovit Klein. The odds makers have to know what they're doing at minus 835. Take it with a grain of salt, but Ludovit Klein by knockout's what I'm going with here. He's a better striker than Steve Nguyen, as you mentioned, and Nguyen was able to dispatch of AJ Cunningham. So, you know, MMA math sometimes don't be math, and I think in this case it'll math.
Yeah, I think this is just a case of they needed somebody to step in. Yeah. Again, there's really nothing to say here. I'm not a fan of AJ Cunningham. He was knocked out in the Contender Series. Yes, he got a win after that, but against a guy, by the way, that was 8-10.
Right.
8-10. So you know, there's nothing really to say here. Ludovit Klein, if he loses his goddamn fight, cut him from the promotion completely. So, by the way, the dude's name was Justice Lamperez. This sounds like a created ass guy.
Probably.
Like, this is nonsensical to me. Bro is 8-10. Like, this guy's not fought a high level of competition. This will be his first and last fight in the UFC if they know what's good for them. I'm going Ludovit Klein by knockout in the second round as well.
I like Ludovit Klein, by the way, for what it's worth. I think
I like him too, man. Like, there's been times he's like he I don't know, like he lost to Mike Trizano, right, and then lost.
I think that was Mike Trizano's last win, by the way. I'm pretty sure.
No,
wasn't his last UFC win.
Your boy was.
Who's that?
Oh no, never mind. I was thinking of somebody else. But he just beat Sung Woo Choi though.
I don't even remember that, dude.
But yeah, but anyway, fine. Ludovit Klein is pretty damn good. I think he's a mid-tier guy in the division. Cunningham has no business being in the UFC. So that's where it starts and ends for me. I don't want to spend any more time on that. So moving on to the next fight of the night. And speaking of fights that we should not be spending time on, we've got a 36-year-old Eryk Anders taking on Jamie Pickett with one of the more pathetic records in the UFC in the men's divisions. He's 13-10. He's coming off 14 losses in a row somehow. I'm being facetious, but he's coming off literally 4 losses in a row. Worst of all, one of those is to Kyle Daukaus. So Jamie Pickett, just simply not very good. Eryk Anders, yes, he's 36 years old. Eryk Anders, interesting kind of, he's like a Devin Clark to me, right? Where it's like, he doesn't know what kind of fighter he wants to be. He's so goddamn athletic. He's naturally strong as hell. Obviously, he's got the football background, super explosive, great fast switch muscles. I could see this fight going either which way. Jamie Pickett looks like a guy that's going to be a striker, but he's actually not a bad grappler, not a bad wrestler. Eryk Anders, I just expect him to be the more physically stronger guy. I do expect him to have the better grappling, the better wrestling. Eryk Anders sometimes makes weird decisions too, so we'll see. I don't feel super confident. The odds on this one are minus 425 are fucking crazy. Listen, dude. I watched film on this like several days ago. These odds are fucking nuts to me that you're pulling up on here. Anyway, more power on the feet for Eryk Anders, in my opinion. Jamie Pickett, there's nothing that ever stands out to me, man. Jamie Pickett, it's time to go from the UFC. I'm taking Eryk Anders. I mean, he actually looked pretty. I'm not gonna lie. I know he's 36. I know he's like been wishy-washy, whatever. He looked pretty good in his last fight versus Marc-Andre Barrios. And there's times where it's like, damn, he's pretty good. This guy's athletic. I like him. He's got a good look to him. And then it just doesn't happen, right? So I just got to go with the guy who, in my opinion, is just overall better in general. More power, better wrestler. I'm going to go by decision. These guys both kind of are wishy-washy at times. Not a great fight for the fans and for the future. What does this really do for anybody? I feel like you could have used at least Eryk Anders to kind of propel a younger prospect, because he is, I think, he has a lot of experience, right? He's been along for a long time. He's been here. He does a lot of things pretty good. So I think they could have made better matchmaking here. This fight doesn't do anything for anybody, but give me Eryk Anders by decision.
Yeah, I'm in exactly the same boat as you, man. One thing though, they did use Jamie Pickett to propel Bo Nickel forward, right? So I thought that was kind of the road they would go with Jamie Pickett and Eryk Anders, but I guess they're just pitting them against each other. Really quickly, one thing to note: Jamie Pickett, his UFC career 2-6. You mentioned the 4-fight losing streak. His 2 wins are to Lariano Staropoli, who's now in PFL Europe, and Ugly Man Joe, who's back in, I think he's in the LFA now. So he doesn't have a win against the UFC guy currently in the UFC. Eryk Anders, sometimes good, sometimes bad. He's very athletic. Same thing, man. I think they're both pretty low level. I have no idea what to make of this fight, so I'm going to go with the same thing you did. I'm going Eryk Anders by decision, and it's for the same reason you said. It's just because I think he's the better fighter, and that's what I see. I don't love this fight. I don't love the odds. I don't really love anything about it, but yeah, good luck to these guys.
God bless. Moving on to the 7th fight of the night, we've got Matt Schnell taking on Steve Erceg. man, a couple years ago, I would have, and if Steve Erceg was around, in the UFC, then I would have said this is an incredible fight. I want to hear what you have to say about this one, but I mean, yeah, there's not a lot to say on the rest of these fights moving forward, basically. But
yeah, I mean, essentially from here on out, we start getting like Bellator odds, right? Matt Schnell, let's start with him. Awesome striker, man. He's tough as hell. Good power shots. He makes you follow him a ton, and he gets his opponents really frustrated. Then he does a great job counter-striking. On the ground, he's pretty nice too, man. Great submission skills. He's fast. He's slick on the ground. He has absolutely no ability to get it there, though, so you got to get it there. It's got to get there somehow. I forgot how good, Dino, his fight versus Arichi Lang, or I'm sorry, Sumudaerji was. That's got to be racist, right? His fight versus Sumudaerji. That was a banger. Huh?
The comeback?
The comeback, yeah. So he's getting his ass whooped. He's getting like chinned every second in the first round. Like every 4 punches this dude throws, he's absolutely sparking Matt Schnell. He's like freezing up. Like it looks like
he dropped him like 4 times.
Yeah, it was obnoxious. It looked like he was out on his feet. Then he somehow comes back and puts the guy to sleep. Go do yourselves a favor and watch that fight. It's like 4 minutes. So Matt Schnell versus Sumudaerji. Steve Erceg, great grappler. He just kind of bursted on the scene, this guy. Like, no one had ever heard of him, and then all of a sudden, he's just like in the top 10 at flyweight in the world in the UFC. So
he got one win on. Well, first of all, it's very impressive versus David Dvorak, who was I think he was ranked at the time.
Yeah, David Dvorak was like 11th or something like that. It was something crazy.
Yeah, somewhere between 10 and 14, I want to say exactly. And then this guy came in on like 10 days' notice and beat his ass. But man, I remember watching tape on him. He pops on tape, dude. He like Steve Erceg.
Yeah,
looks good. A weird nickname, I will say, Astro Boy.
I mean, he looks like dude from 40-Year-Old Virgin. What's the Steve Carell?
Literally.
He looks exactly like Steve Carell. But anyways, he's hot as hell right now, man. You got to factor that in here. I don't think he's a great striker, Dino, but he is really good in the grappling game. A lot of people are stupidly high on Steve Erceg. I'm sorry. I'm not one of them. I know he's good. I get it. He is good. I just don't think he's like that next level of good. I think at some point he's going to get outclassed. I just don't think it's against Matt Schnell. And you know what? That sounds crazy as I'm saying it out loud right now because Matt Schnell is up there, right? But I just don't think Steve Erceg is quite that next level. I am going to pick him here via wrestle fudge and a decision, but I think it's the end of the road for him. I don't think he beats anybody else above Matt Schnell in the division. Man,
that's interesting. I think you're tripping a little bit.
Maybe.
I think Steve Erceg, I think you're underrating his striking. He's got stiff 1-2, stiff punches. I think in general, a lot of people underrate his striking because his submission grappling is so good. We've seen Matt Schnell submitted. His chin is sus. As tough as he is, Matt Schnell, probably the toughest guy with the most heart and the most comeback ability in the flyweight division. I think Steve Erceg, somebody in a flyweight division that's kind of wide open right now. We saw that just this past weekend, right? I think he's somebody that could continue to climb the ranks and could potentially be fighting for a title. Would he? Only because it's so wide open. Do I think he'll beat somebody like Pantoja or Moreno? Or probably not. But I do think that he'll put up a decent fight. I don't think he'll get outclassed by these guys, to be quite frank with you. Also, he's still younger than most of these guys. He's what, 28?
I think so.
I just lost it. Sorry. Yeah, 28. Schnell's 34, man. We've seen him chin. The chin is sus. As like dangerous as he is because he can keep coming back and he's never out of it. He's literally never out of it. Steve Erceg is just too good. I see a second round sub, man. I just think eventually he'll get him down. I could see him dropping Matt Schnell, to be honest with you. Matt Schnell's interesting because he'll put the pressure on, right? He'll walk you down and then he'll get chinned. So he's interesting in that way. But I just think Steve Erceg is pretty good, man. I think the striking's underrated, like I said. Younger fighter, got the momentum. I think he's here to stay, man. And I'm going to take him by finish. I'm going to take him by round 2 sub. We always talk about, at these lighter weight classes, guys kind of fall off sooner. Matt Schnell, as tough as they come. But, man, 34 years old is getting up there in this weight class. So,
yeah, let's do something really quickly, Dean. I just want to play this game really quickly, all right?
Okay.
So at 125, I'm looking at the rankings right now. We have Steve Erceg at 12. He's taking on Matt Schnell, who's at 9, okay? And I think he's appropriately ranked at number 9. Let's play. Who does he beat above Matt Schnell? You ready? We're going to go 8-1 here.
All right, read it to me. I don't have it in front of me.
Muhammad Mokaev.
It's very possible.
Okay. Alex Perez.
Beats him.
Okay, and I think that I agree with that one, and I think that's where the line gets drawn, right? Because number 6 is Manel Cop.
Very possible, but man,
Okay.
that's in my opinion, that's a close one. Manel Cap doesn't have shit for him on the ground.
Okay. 5 is Mateus Nicolau.
Possible.
Number 4, Kai Kara France.
Unlikely, but possible.
Amir Albazi at 3, and then
Dude,
Moreno
he'll
Royval.
beat Amir Albazi.
You think he beats Amir Albazi? I don't think so, man.
Bro, I think all the guys that you mentioned, it's a 50-50 for me. I think it's very, very possible. You have to consider he's 28, dude. Like it's very, very possible that he beats these guys, all those guys, in my opinion.
And that's fair. And a lot of people, Dino, are on your side of this. I would say the majority of people are on your side on this. The majority of fans in the know, right? Like, I get it, man. I do think he's good. But to me, it's just like, I think he's top 10 good, right? I just don't think he's top 5 good. And to me, there's like a clear line there. But it is what it is.
Okay,
I guess we'll see.
What do you think Nicolau does to him? You're muted, brother.
We're doing this thing again. What's it called? Yeah, I think Nicolau beats him. To me, that the line is for sure. Like, there's a for sure line after Nicolau of Kai Kara France and up to me. So Kai Kara France and Meryl Bazzi, Moreno, Royval, Pantoja. I'm certain those guys would beat him. I'm pretty comfortable in saying Manel Cop and Mateus Nicolau would beat him. It's that Alex Perez Mokaev range where, like, I think he could possibly beat those guys. But
yeah, anyway. But you know what it is too, bro? Look at somebody like Royval. Like, I think he has a better chance against Royval than Kai Kara France.
Matchups, right?
Yeah.
Styles and shit. Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, let's not spend too much time on this. We'll do a state of the divisions very soon.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you good to move on?
Yeah, we moved on already down there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Moving on, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Bekzat Almakhan. Listen, man, Bekzat looks pretty good. I think he's here. I think he's going to be somebody who's going to stay. I don't think this is like he's just filling in and, you know, he's out after that. He does look really goddamn good, and he's so different from Umar in terms of, like, he's so bouncy, right? And, like, you know what I mean? Like, pulls in and out, like, where Umar is, like, so much more, like, composed, you know, reading, right? Like, I just think Umar has the power advantage for sure. Overall, man, this is just goddamn nonsensical matchmaking. What are we doing here, right? Like, what are we fucking doing here? This guy can't fight. You couldn't find a single person to fight Umar. And now you got this guy you're bringing in, another guy from that region of the world, trying to gas him up. He's explosive, man. He's got nice head kicks, nice kicks in general. I think he's going to be good, man. I think he's going to be good in the UFC. I think he could end up ranked at some point, right? Like, I'm not taking that away from him. For me, Umar is crisper, got more power. He's a Nurmagomedov, right? Look at the odds, minus 1,200. I'm not breaking any news here. For me, I could see this going to a decision, right? It's very possible. I guess I'm going to go by decision, to be honest with you. It's kind of crazy with the odds where they're at. It's just like Bekzat is really good. He's explosive. He has more fast twitch ability, in my opinion, than Umar. But Umar has more power. Look at the people that they fought, man. Bekzat hasn't fought the worst competition compared to some of the guys from that region of the world. It's just like this is such a levels fight to me, right? This guy has nothing to lose by coming in here and taking this fight. It's a guy from that region of the world. It was supposed to be in that region of the world anyways. But who's not taking Umar here? Like, if Umar's not going to lose this, there's a 0% chance of that. Let's be real. I'm going to take Umar. I think he could win it any which way, quite frankly. But I could see somebody like Bekzat kind of surviving, to be quite honest with you, taking a beating, but surviving for 3 rounds.
Yeah, so same boat, man. I do think this guy, Almakhan, I think he's good, Dino. He's a really good striker, really good grappler. Like, he is sharp, and the dude looks legit. He really does look legit, but it's like you said, there's levels to this. Umar Nurmagomedov, obviously, to me, levels above, right? And it gets you, like, this is the kind of matchmaking that allows that narrative to come out that has come out about a lot of these Dagestani fighters, right? They're first and foremost, Umar Nurmagomedov, this will be his 5th UFC fight. He's already pulled out of 5 UFC fights. So think about that. He's had 10 fights signed, and he's made the walk for 4 of them.
Just like his cousin.
So look, man, that narrative comes out, whether it's warranted or not, there's a reason that there is that narrative. And then to see a guy like that where he's like, nobody wants to fight me. Nobody wants to fight me. Nobody wants to fight me. And then he pulls out against Corey Sandhagen. And it's like, okay, so you pulled out. Sandhagen was willing to fight you. You pulled out.
Corey had a good chance of beating him in that fight, in my opinion.
I mean, look, Corey Sandhagen is one of the best bantamweights in the world. Like Corey Sandhagen on any given night, I think can.
I think one of the best UFC fighters in the world. Period.
Period. I think he.
You're muted again.
About
you're
now.
Still muted. Yep, you're good.
All right. So I was saying, Corey Sandhagen to me, man, one of the best fighters on the planet. I think he deserves to be in a pound for pound list, even though he's not. He's a guy that he's a 135er that can beat any 135er on the planet. Like,
no question.
Straight up. And you had him willing to fight Umar. And for me, that just made a lot of sense, right? Like Umar wants to get into that top 3, 4, whatever. That's the fight to take. You back out because it's a difficult challenge. They're going to say it was because he was injured. But then it's like, okay, if that was the case, why in the world are you coming back to fight this guy? Like, what do you have to gain? He has absolutely nothing to gain except for another win in his record. So he can go to whatever and what is it, 16-0 or something like that?
Well, gives the UFC a chance to push him for no reason above.
Exactly. Just so he can
guys above him.
Just so he can call out Merab Dvalishvili and try to take that title shot away. Or just so he can call out Sugar Sean O'Malley. And they're like, you know what? That sells more than Sandhagen, or that sells more than Merab. That's the reason this fight's being made. He's going to win this fight. It's obvious. This guy, Almakhan, is good. He's not Umar's level, man. Bellator odds. You don't see this in the UFC, right? You see it with Bo Nickel. You see it with this guy. That's really all it is.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. And moving on to the next fight. Talking about pulling out of fights, I don't think anybody has pulled out of more fights than Alex Perez. Let me count them. 1, 2, 3.
Not his fault, Dino. Not all his fault. A bunch
4,
of
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 since 2019. 12 pullouts. You know the guy that's like 23 kids, 22 baby mother. Right. Real bad man. These guys are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay. So anyway, what do you think about this fight?
All right. So really quickly, not that I really give a shit about Alex Perez, but a lot of those were actually his opponent pulling out, for what that's worth. It's been unfortunate. He's had I think it was something like of his last 5, 4 were his opponent pulling out. But anyways,
I know, Alex, but he's fought twice in the last 5 years.
I know. So anyways, Alex Perez, well-rounded, great striking, great grappling, good leg kicks when we saw him fight. He doesn't fight anymore, right? Right. He hasn't won in probably 35 years. The last time he won, Dino, you ready for this? We're going into UFC 299. He won at UFC 250. UFC 250. That was before Conor and Poirier. That was before, that was a super long.
I was still in my dad's nutsack, smart.
Pretty much, dude. Pretty much. At that fight, as you mentioned, he beat Jussier Formiga, who was still a top 5 ranked guy in the UFC at that point.
Jussier.
After that, he fought Davison Figueiredo for the title. He, of course, got choked out in the first round. He then went on to fight Pantoja and got choked out in the first round. So since 2020, that's been his story. He's fought 2 times against the best 2 flyweights in the world at that moment and got choked out. Mokaev, he's a really good wrestler. He's a highly touted prospect. He's undefeated. He grapples, and that's what he does. He's all about wrestling and grappling. He's not the most exciting guy, but he's been winning. He's supposed to be the next guy, right? But there are so many times that we see Muhammad Mokaev, and it's just God, dude, you are just not that impressive.
But he pulls it out, though.
He pulls it out, right? But that's the thing. There's something about knowing how to win. It's just sometimes, man, you see the Malcolm Gordon fight, and it's God, Malcolm Gordon sucks, dude. And he's struggling there. Then he's struggling against Tim Elliott. And if you're supposed to be the next world champion and the youngest world champion the UFC's ever had,
I can understand that one a little bit more.
Of course. Know? All love and respect to Tim Elliott. Anyways, say what you want about Muhammad Mokaev. I like Alex Perez. I like Muhammad Mokaev. The odds here are absolutely free money, though. I got to go with Mokaev. I can't trust the guy that doesn't have a win against anyone in the UFC currently and has fought twice in the last 45 years. So Yeah, Mokaev by sub. That's like free cheese.
Easily. I agree with you. Alex Perez, it's interesting. It's such a shame. Like, he went from literally a title elimination bout.
He fought for the title.
Right. And
Yeah.
then, but his last fight was versus Pantoja, right?
Yeah.
And that was a title elimination bout.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just like to go from that in your last fight to now, like, he still kind of has name value. So perfect matchup in terms of that for Muhammad Mokaev. Yeah, listen, man. Alex Perez has not been active. He is like a wrestling coach, I want to say, right? And like his base is supposed to be wrestling, but he's been a striker. Like, he has not been a wrestler or grappler. His weakness has been submission artist. Muhammad Mokaev, the finishes that he gets are by submission. He's going to get the submission here. I'm going to say in round 3. I'm going to say I think we're going to see Muhammad Mokaev just kind of out grappling Alex Perez. Maybe Alex Perez will land some nice leg kicks and things like that. But eventually, Mokaev is going to get this to the ground. He's going to get the sub. I really like a round 3 sub here. Mokaev we've seen him get late finishes already. It just makes all the sense in the world to me. So
yeah, and then I would love to see Mokaev versus Steve Erceg after this.
Ooh.
So, let's get saucy. You know what I'm saying?
That's the fight to make, brother.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight.
Anyway, moving on. Co-main event of the evening. We've got Vitor Petrino. He's taking on Tyson Pedro.
Dino, can you see the screen, like the odds and stuff?
Yes.
How about this?
Oh.
How about that?
This is not the cards for it. We got to just wrap this bitch up. But Tyson Pedro, he drinks beer. He drinks beer, bro. You know? What else is he going to drink? He's from Australia. He's like one of the few Australian guys that I don't like. I've noticed that I really like all the Australian guys. He's like one of the few that I don't love.
Same.
He looks like if Roman Reigns got a boozy fade.
Absolutely, 100,000%. I feel you.
1,000%. I'm glad you agree. I just came up with that on the spot, off the Dizzle. Vitor Petrino, man, he's a goddamn beast, right? He's not the smartest fighter, right? He makes some silly fucking mistakes sometimes. It's interesting. These guys have a few guys between them. Anton Turkalj, right? The pleasure man. Is he still in the UFC? He's not, right?
Got cut, yeah.
What a goddamn shame, man. I love me some pleasure, man. But yeah, I mean, versus Anton Turkalj, we saw Petrino go to decision with him. And, you know, he had a tough time in the grappling at times, too. He got hit on the feet a little bit. Tyson Pedro knocked him out, right? And then we have Modestas Bukauskas, who Vitor Petrino, in my opinion, is definitely a better fighter than Anton Turkalj, unfortunately. Vitor Petrino knocked him out absolutely violently, and Tyson Pedro had a much more difficult time with him, right? So for me, this comes down to the grappling. Vitor Petrino has shown that he's more than just a big swole-ass dude. He's got more cardio than we expected. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the best, but like you expect somebody that shredded and swole to gas out even sooner. That's not the case. He's got respectable ground game. For me, that's the biggest difference. Tyson Pedro is not going to have much for him on the ground. Tyson Pedro is maybe the slicker, smoother striker, but Vitor Petrino has way more power. I see a knockout here, man. Tyson Pedro, in my opinion, not as good. He's a little bit better than I thought. I'm not going to lie. But for me, I see him getting knocked out here, man. I'm going to say early second round knockout for Vitor Petrino in this one.
All right, cool. So we're on exactly the same boat as far as how we get there or where we're going. I'm going Petrino round 2 TKO. I just think it's because Tyson Pedro, Dino, I think he's like a bit of a one-trick pony. I really do think, like, obviously he's similar to the Tafa brothers, right? Like, he comes out first round. He's got like serious power. He could put people away. Might be a little more skilled than them, like, in terms of being well-rounded. But like, he fades immediately, dude. If he leaves the first round, if we get to round 2, he always gets finished. He always gets finished. He never wins fights outside of the first round. So if Vitor Petrino, to me, has shown at least the ability to be able to go 3 rounds, right? That's the cardio that you mentioned. But like, he looks like the real deal, man. And I just don't see him coming out there and getting chinned by a dude in the first round, especially a dude of Tyson Pedro's level. So I do agree with you. I'm going Petrino round 2 TKO. I think it's really simple. But I have really good news for you. While you were yapping about this fight, I looked into Anton Turkalj. He's got a fight coming up March 30th in the UFC, so he hasn't been cut yet. There's
let's go. Who's he taking on?
Abu Aslan.
Oh, he's fucked.
So we'll see what happens.
I don't know who that is right now. He's fucked.
We'll see. You know?
That's so annoying. The Pleasure Man is the greatest nickname in UFC history. Argue with a fucking wall. Anyway, main event of the evening. Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on fucking Shamil Gaziev, goddammit. For what reason? Only Lord knows. What do you think about this one, Dino?
All right, question 1. How in the world is this a main event? I don't get it.
How is the previous fight a co-main event? You know, like
absolutely. Question number 2. What the hell did Shamil Gaziev do to deserve a main event? He came into the UFC and beat Martin Boudet. Like, okay.
He beat somebody's fucking uncle.
Dino, he was the first fight of the night on a fight night last time out. I think it was a fight night. Regardless, he was the first fight of the card. And he won, and now he gets a main event like 3 months later. Anyways.
Yep. Nobody else gets that, bro. Nobody else gets that but these guys from that region.
You know who got that?
You think about, what's his name? The guy that came, you think about Abus Magomedov, right? You think about, what's his name?
Yuri.
Huh?
The only other person I can think of that got this treatment was Yuri, and Yuri came in with a title from Rizin.
And Yuri came in with like a shit ton of kickboxing experience.
Yeah.
So, but I'm talking about, no, bro, I'm talking about the guy that was knocked out by Hamza.
Yeah. His name's escaping me right now, but he's a beast.
Something with an A, I want to say, but like, it's like, okay, they're pushing the shit out of these guys. Look at this best cat guy. Like, that's fucked up, bro. It's fucked up. But anyway, what do you think about it?
Yeah, UFC has their reasons. But anyways, let's start with Jairzinho Rozenstruik, man. We know his deal, right? You know, he's a kickboxer. He's got really damn good power. He's mostly a counter striker. He's pretty patient. Last time we saw him fight, he got his ass absolutely dominated by Jailton Almeida via grappling. He was taken down and subbed in the first. That is Jairzinho's weakness. He has absolutely nothing on the ground. On the feet, he can hang with damn near anybody. Obviously not Francis, because that was just Francis blitzing him. But, like, he's a good kickboxer. He's taking on Shamil Gaziev. He's a heavy-ass dude with good power, good grappling. He's Dagestani, so that comes with that. You're born with it. He looks like he has zero cardio, Dino. Anytime I've ever seen this guy fight, 2 minutes into a fight, he's huffing and puffing. Last time out, we did see him get to a second round. You know, we've never seen this guy pass 6 minutes of a fight.
Yeah.
And on the Contender Series, he beat a guy after like 3.5 minutes, and he looked like he was about to like hyperventilate and die, right? So very simple here for Jairzinho Rozenstruik. To win this fight, Jairzinho needs to do 2 things. Don't get taken down immediately in the first and survive to the second round. And if that is the case, live bet slam Jairzinho Rozenstruik. The problem is I don't believe in Jairzinho Rozenstruik's takedown defense. So for that, I have to go with Shamil Gaziev, which is fucking bananas. But that's what I'm doing. I think he gets a takedown early and he gets the finish here via sub. But yeah, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, listen, man, the UFC knew exactly what they were doing with this, right? There's a reason this is the perfect matchup to boost somebody like Gaziev up. If they put him against Volkov, I wouldn't have picked Gaziev here, right? Like,
no
don't
way.
Get it
yeah.
Gaziev has a shit ton of power. He's a very strong offensive grappler. His biggest weakness, in my opinion, aside from the cardio, is the defensive grappling. He really doesn't like when somebody else tries to put the pressure on the grappling against him. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is not that guy. He hasn't looked great lately. I think he's kind of mailed it in. Shamil Gaziev, if nothing else, is motivated. He's got the wrestling advantage by a long shot. He's got the power advantage, in my opinion, too. Skill-wise, striking-wise, Jairzinho Rozenstruik is definitely much better than him. This is just a perfect matchup. And then I've said this before on this very YouTube show, the 10-7 MMA. And at heavyweight, once somebody gets one of these guys down and the other guy's on top of them, majority of the time they don't get up, right? They don't get up. So it's just a bad matchup for me. I'm taking Shamil Gaziev too. I'm going to take him by, what did you say, decision?
No, round 1. So, God forbid decision. What are you talking about, Dino? How is this going 5 rounds?
Oh my God, 5 rounds? Is that insane?
This guy has the cardio to go 5 rounds?
I think he gets a second round knockout, to be honest with you. I think he's going to get him down to the ground and get a TKO.
Okay, and that's fair. I can see that too. I just think we're starting to play like a really, really dangerous game of uncharted
Real
territory.
bad man.
Real bad man. Shout out that guy. But I think we're starting to play like a really dangerous game of uncharted territory if we get into the second. We've seen Jairzinho go 5 multiple times. This guy Gaziev, like I said, all jokes aside, he's fucking exhausted 3 minutes into the fight. So, anyways, man.
Exhausted looking at him.
Right. It is what it is. Real quick game, because you had me just think of something. You said the matchup, obviously, tailor-made for him. And you said that if he fought, who was it, Volkov, that you would pick Volkov, right?
Yeah, easily.
Okay, so they have Jairzinho Rozenstruik at 12. I would take number 13, Alexander Romanov, to beat Shamil Gaziev.
Where the fuck has he been, dude?
Good I don't know, but he's number 13, and to me, that would be a slam on Romanov. 10 is a tie between Derek Lewis and Marcin Tybura. I get the Derek Lewis side. You never know with Derek Lewis, right? The touch of death. Marcin Tybura, maybe. I'm picking Tuivasa. I'm picking Sergey Spivak, and then the rest up, obviously, I'm taking those guys because that's Almeida, Volkov, Blades.
No question.
Yeah, all those guys. But yeah, tailor-made matchup for him here, man. Anyways, thank God we're done with this themed card. Hopefully,
it won't way too long, but
way too long. Hopefully our picks are good. We've been pretty damn hot, Dino. But once this is done, I'm excited because next week, UFC 299, and let's just do a little bit of this. Sean O'Malley, the Sugar Show, versus Cheeto Vera 2. That's going to be a badass fight. Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus yo boy, BSD Benoit Saint Denis. That's a fucking banger. Kevin Holland versus MVP. Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della. Peter Yan versus Song Yadong. That's a hell of a main card. That's a good pay-per-view card.
I'm trying to have somebody's girl sing a song on my dong.
Hey, and I respect that, you know. And also, speaking of heavyweights, we get Curtis Blades next week as well. Gamrot, RDA, Michelle Pereira. Shit's fucking crazy. Dino, anything else?
No, please, let's get the fuck out of here.
All right, guys, he's DS. I'm Dino Bam Bam. We are the 10-7 MMA. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, do us a favor. Hit the little subscribe button. Ring the bell. Follow us on Instagram at the 10-7 MMA. We got a bunch of cool fighters with us and a bunch of cool pictures with us and fighters. He's DS. He just came back from Dubai. He's got a blue glare on his head. I have a white glare on my head. I need a fucking tan, bro. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.